Hi everyone. So this is Pankil Priya and we are on third chapter of book 1 of plus 1. Chapter is private, public and global enterprises, and we are starting with the topic that is statutory corporation. This is your second type of public sector enterprise. We've already discussed departmental undertaking and the various IPRs, that is industrial policy resolutions, as well as difference between private and public sector. What is a statutory corporation? Statutory corporation is a kind of enterprise or a corporation which comes into existence because of the act of a parliament. It has operational flexibility of private enterprises and it has some kind of backing from the government. Examples are Reserve Bank of India, LIC Life Insurance Corporation, ONGC Oil and Natural Gas Commission. Let's start with statutory corporations. These are public enterprises brought into existence by a special act of parliament, like I told you. The act defines its powers and functions and rules and regulation governing its employees, its relationship with government departments. Now, get it very clear. See, the RBI has its own functioning, LIC has its own functioning. The act defines the power of the working capacity of that particular kind of corporation. So, their working is something like of private enterprises. But yes, since they are backed by government, so their working also comes under the provision of government organizations. Like we have Act of Parliament out here. I just told you examples are Reserve Bank of India, LIC, ONGC. They work on the same, that is this kind of structure. They are actually specially set up by the Special Act of Parliament. Here, statutory corporations have power of the government, I just now told, operating flexibility of private enterprises, this also I told. So, this is the definition in case if you get a question on statutory corporation that you define statutory corporation, here this is what you are going to give as definition. If you are asked examples, so this is what you are going to give as examples. Sometimes they can ask you multiple choice question out here or they can ask you some kind of case study out here. Now, let's come to the features. First is setup. Statutory corporation or SC here means statutory corporation. Statutory corporation are set up under the Act of Parliament. So, this is by the Act of Parliament and are governed by the provision of the Act, whatever is mentioned in the Act. The Act defines its objects, powers and privileges. So, all powers, privileges, objects here means objectives are defined by the Act. Next is ownership. This type of organization is wholly owned by the state. The government has the ultimate financial responsibility. Of course, yes. Since they come under the, they come into existence by the Special Act of Parliament. So, initial financial help is given by the state. Get it very clear. They do not contribute towards government treasury, like whatever revenue they earn, they use it for themselves, as well as they do not get any appropriation from the annual budget of the government. The government has power to appropriate profits. Yes, government can appropriate profits. Of course, it's under the Special Act of Parliament, and state also bears the losses. Losses, if there are any, these are actually taken care by the state, but get it very, very clear, and I'm telling you again and again, they do not get anything from the annual budget of the government. Now, next is separate legal entity. A statutory corporation is a separate legal entity. Why? Because it is a body corporate which can sue, can be sued, it can make contract under its name, and it can buy property, it can sell property. So, whenever all these points come together, it is known as separate legal entity. A statutory corporation is a body corporate. It can sue. Sue means किसी के against case कर सकते हैं. Can be sued, इनके ऊपर कोई केस कर सकता है. Can enter into contract like agreement or any kind of thing which is backed by legal action. Can acquire property on its own name. किसके नाम पे? Statutory corporation, not the name of the members or anybody else, but the statutory corporation. Next, finance. Now, when we talk about the finance, this type of enterprise is usually independently financed. Like I told you, it obtains its funds by borrowings from the government. Government से borrow करते हैं, but gets its revenue derived from the sale of goods and services, and it has authority to use its revenue. गुड्स को सेल करके उनकी सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करके जो स्टैट्यूटरी कॉर्पोरेशन है वो अपने लिए फाइनेंस जनरेट करती है, रेवेन्यूज जनरेट करती है, उनको रीयूज़ करती है, री इन्वेस्ट करती है. हाँ, लेकिन अगर कभी दिक्कत आती है तो स्टेट क्या करता है, लॉसेस बेयर करता है, और कभी कभी प्रॉफिट्स को, कभी क्या यूजली चेकिंग प्रॉफिट्स को एप्रोप्रिएट भी करता है. आते हैं अकाउंटिंग एंड ऑडिट. State statutory corporation, the accounting and audit is not like any other government organization. No, it's not like that. They have their separate way of auditing and accounting. So properly checking is done. Of course, state take care of that, because when they are appropriating profit, when they're bearing the loss, they have to take care of that. So the audit of statutory corporation is like, unlike other government departments, not same as that of other government departments. It is not concerned with a central budget of government. Like I told you, annual budget is central budget के साथ ही concerned नहीं होता. Recruitment. Now, if you talk about RBI, if you talk about LIC, if I talk about ONGC, they have their own way of recruitment. Usually government does not interfere. Sometimes the government may send some officers on deputation to work in the organization, but these guys, the employees, not these guys, the employees are not the employees of the central government. So the employees of statutory corporation are not government or civil servants. The conditions of service is as per the act, that is defined in the act which is of the statutory corporation. Some government officers are taken on deputation sometimes, not always. They are made as head on deputation. Why? Because they may want somebody who has little experience, so that person can head a statutory corporation for some time, but usually they have their own system of getting the people. If you talk about the RBI governor, you know, every time different person is there, so they keep their own perspective in mind by choosing a governor for the RBI. Okay, so next we start with is merits and limitation of statutory corporation. Starting with the first merit out here is operational flexibility. Like I've been telling you that the statutory corporation has operational flexibility. That means they work like private enterprises, and they have the backing of government. So there is operational, that means working flexibility. They work as they like, since they are not dependent on the central budget of the government. So they have that kind of freedom to work. They enjoy independence in their functioning. So there is a lot of independence in their functioning, and a high degree of operational. Operational means working, flexibility means easy. So it is easier to work. They are free from undesirable government regulation and control. So government does not interfere much. They are free from the regulation of the government. Government ज़्यादा interfere नहीं करती. In reality, अभी कुछ और आएगा जब हम limitation करेंगे. There will be something else when we come to limitation. ये operational flexibility is actually, और rather हम कहें कि in reality it is only in books. Reality क्या है? Inflexibility कैसे होगी? When we will do the limitation, we will come to know. Next, funds. Since the funds of these organizations do not come from the central government, the government does not interfere in their financial matters. Government does not interfere, but government appropriates the profit. The state also provides for the bears the losses, but otherwise there is no other interference in the finance, because what they do is once they sell their goods and services, they can generate revenue and reinvest into the statutory corporations. So वापस reinvestment भी हो जाती है. ऑटोनॉमस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. ऑटोनॉमस मतलब क्या होता है? ऑटोनॉमस का मतलब होता है इंडिपेंडेंट. लाइक हमने बात करी थी पहले मैं यहाँ लिख दूँ इंडिपेंडेंट. हमने बात करी थी डिपार्टमेंटल अंडरटेकिंग की. वो किसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट थी? दे वर डिपेंडेंट ऑन दी मिनिस्ट्री, कंसर्न मिनिस्ट्री. दीज आर इंडिपेंडेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बिकॉज वाई they come into existence with the act of parliament. The act defines their powers, and the rules and regulation all is defined in the act. So they have their own way of working. So they have independent working. They are autonomous. Autonomous means independent organization. They frame their own policies, अपनी policies. They have their own procedures with powers assigned to them by the act. Sometimes government approval is needed for some kind of things. Government approval might be needed, but not always. And they do not also take permission. जैसे हम लोग sole proprietorship करते हैं तो हमें कभी कभी लाइसेंस चाहिए होता है. ऐसे कहीं कहीं जगह गवर्नमेंट अप्रूवल चाहिए होती है, but otherwise they are totally purely autonomous organization. So approval may be needed. Next we come to valuable instrument. So this is one of the major merit of statutory corporation, because they are the valuable instrument of economic growth. How? A statutory corporation is a valuable instrument of what? Of economic development. It has the power of the government and also has initiative of the private enterprises. So they have a lot of power which they get from the government, लेकिन इनका जो working system है या इनका जो working capacity है वो कैसी है? वो private enterprises जैसी है. Let's come to limitation. Like I told you, operational flexibility का बिल्कुल opposite यहाँ आ जाता है. In reality, statutory corporation do not enjoy the so-called operational flexibility. मुझे ऐसा मैंने इसीलिए जानबूझ के लिखा कि actually में reality में ये enjoy नहीं करते हैं. all actions are subject to many rules and regulation regulated by the government. See, if it has come into existence by the act of parliament, parliament कहीं ना कहीं इंटरफेयर, गवर्नमेंट इंटरफेयर करेगी ही करेगी. जहाँ गवर्नमेंट का नाम है वहाँ वो इंटरफेयर ना करे, ये तो पॉसिबल नहीं है. Government interference, government and political interference has always been there in major decisions. Of course, अगर गवर्नमेंट आपको किसी चीज़ की परमिशन दे रही है या कोई रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन लगा रही है तो वो इंटरफेयर तो कर ही रही है ना, इसका मतलब. सो वे ह्यूज फंड्स आर इन्वॉल्व, अगेन दे विल आस्क यू कि हम आपको इतना पैसा दे रहे हैं, आप इस पैसे को कैसे इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं. क्या आरबीआई बिल्कुल फ्री है गवर्नमेंट रेगुलेशन से? तो ये आपको पता होना चाहिए कि कितने गवर्नर्स और कैसे चेंज होते हैं और किस समय चेंज होते हैं. यू कैन वेरी वेल कम टू नो कि कितना गवर्नमेंट इंटरफेरेंस है और कितना नहीं है. ऑलराइट, करप्शन, वेयर देयर इज डीलिंग विद पब्लिक, रैम्पेंट करप्शन एग्जिस्ट. ऑफ कोर्स ट्रू, करप्शन है भाई, जहाँ मर्जी आए देख लो. नाम नहीं लेना चाहिए, बट वी नो इट. वाई देयर इज करप्शन? सिंस द पॉइंट इज गिवन, इट्स वेरी क्लियर. Corruption in form of bribery, corruption in form of red tapeism, whichever way you talk about. So there is a kind of hierarchy which exists and people work according to that, and that is kind of a limitation. कहा जाता है कि hierarchy बहुत अच्छी चीज़ होती है होना, लेकिन ये थोड़ा है कि एक फाइल एक डिपार्टमेंट से दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट में जाने के लिए भी हमें ब्राइबरी देनी पड़ेगी. तो कहीं ना कहीं करप्शन तो है ही ना, गड़बड़ तो है ही, जो मर्जी आया हो जाए. और क्या रेवेन्यूज़ पूरे जो जनरेट होते हैं वो री इन्वेस्ट प्रॉपरली होते हैं या नहीं होते? कस्टमर की नीड्स को देखा जाता है या नहीं देखा? There are so many things which are to be considered. Curbing freedom. Ultimately, the government has the practice of appointing advisors to the corporation board. So they have the advisors who look after the corporation board. Corporation board मतलब statutory corporation के board पे, right? This curbs the freedom of the corporation in entering into contract. अब जब भी कोई नया contract लेना है या कोई decision करना है तो किससे पूछे करना पड़ेगा? In advisory appointment of advisors. ये advisors जो corporation board में है और ये किसने appoint किए हैं? ये appoint किए हैं government ने. So ultimately क्या हो गई? आपकी freedom curb down हो गई. Your freedom gets curbed, it gets stopped, it gets you cannot move ahead without the government's approval. In reality, delay in decision. डिले इन डिसीजन क्यों भाई? ये आपका यहाँ पर कॉर्पोरेशन बोर्ड है, ये एडवाइज़र्स हैं. आप ये एडवाइज़र्स किसी चीज़ को ओके करेंगे तभी आप डिसीजन लेंगे ना. अननेसेसरी हायरार्की क्रिएट हो गई, आउट ऑफ द स्टैट्यूटरी कॉर्पोरेशन क्रिएट हो गई, जो लोग इमीडिएट काम कर रहे हैं उनसे अलग क्रिएट हो गई. सो डिसीजन क्या हो जाता है? डिले हो जाता है. इफ़ देयर इज़ एनी डिसएग्रीमेंट द मैटर इज़ रेफर टू द गवर्नमेंट for the final decision. This leads to delay in decision and delay in action. Why? Because this hierarchy is created out here and it takes a lot of time to get the approval. So we just finished off with merits, limitation, and before this we just finished off with features of statutory corporation. So I hope the statutory corporation, there is examples is clear to you. Next we'll be doing government company.